Hello, and welcome back to another Bear Central review with me, BearElliott. Today we're taking a fantastic voyage into a fantastically... Okay, let's just be honest. We're talking about the Fantastic Four. I was trying to think of something positive to say about fantastic. Alright, there's been a lot of hype about this movie. Now, even going into it. To the point where there's rumors, and there's a lot of, elements to back up some of the rumors about what happened in the production of Fantastic Four and what exactly, transpired during it and with Marvel. Okay, basically in a nutshell, what's going on? Years and years and years ago, Marvel sold off its rights to the movie character versions of their characters to multiple different companies. Sony, Fox, blah, 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 blah. Fox owns Fantastic Four and also the Mutant franchise, which is the X-Men. Fantastic Four is one of those that we've been really hoping that would go eventually back to Marvel. Because Marvel's been doing an incredible job with all of these movies. And everybody thinks of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as kind of blanketing these other two companies, and it doesn't really work that way. Now, we have seen in the past that Marvel is starting to get back control of certain characters such as Spider-Man, which is owned by, well, not really owned, but Sony has the rights to the cinematic character. They're working together. Well, the big fight between them is now the mutants and the Fantastic Four. So Fox recently released this movie, and okay, it was released, and there was a lot of hype going up into it. We're going to get into my thoughts and my feelings about this. I want to just tell you, I am not the biggest Fantastic Four fan. I am a comic book fan. I am a Marvel fan. But I'm not the hugest Fantastic Four. I've followed them. I know the history of their characters and so forth, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, rush out and must own all of the different versions of them, because they've had multiple versions of them in the comics. And let's just get through some of the rumors that took place about the production of this movie. Number one was the director. Now, the director, Josh Trank. I hope I'm saying that right. Trank? I think it's Trank. Josh Trank. So Josh Trank directed Chronicles. Now, I didn't think I had seen this movie until somebody reminded me, yes, you had. I did not remember that. I guess I have seen Chronicles. After I was explained the storyline, yes, I have seen Chronicles. It was okay. I wouldn't say it was the greatest movie, but it was okay. Well, he was selected to be the director for this. This is kind of where things went awry. There was a lot of problems between him and the studio. And rumors started during the production of it that this was a troubled production. The Fantastic Four, there was problems primarily with the director, Josh. Now, this is alleged. I did research on it and I could not find any, people have come out and said, no, this is definitely what happened. These are the rumors that came out of the production and the pre-production of Fantastic Four. Josh is a connoisseur of the reefer. Allegedly. Don't sue me, Josh. What are you going to own? My comic book collection? Maybe you need source material. Maybe that would help. So maybe suing me would kind of help out that thing. I'm talking negative. I don't mean to talk negative. Let's not talk negative. Okay. So during the production of this, Josh was supposedly a little erratic. And they even had to send in handlers from the studio to kind of help him out and to keep him on task. There's even a rumor that he was so out of control that he destroyed the mansion that the studio had rented for him to live in while they were shooting the movie. Supposedly, the owners of that particular house are now suing Josh and the studio for damages. This is all the rumors that led up to Fantastic Four. I swear I'm getting to the review of it, but I think you kind of need the backstory because of why people have such a negative opinion of this. Then came even before the production of it, came the interesting casting of an African-American man as Johnny Storm. Personally, hey, okay, whatever. As long as it's good acting and the storyline makes sense, I don't care. Generally, I mean, the Fantastic Four has been all white, 3 white people and 1 orange guy. I don't know what race he'd be. He was white, now he's orange. Now he's rocks. But that was also a controversy. I don't know why. Everybody has to get up in arms about something. So the production happens, and the reviews came out. They kind of trickled out because of the embargo on them, and several of them were not the greatest of reviews. So that kind of set the precedence of what's going on now. Now, on the day of the release, I can't remember if it was the day before or the day of, Josh he sent out a tweet that later got deleted. I wanted to go ahead and read that. So Josh tweeted this, he says, now this came out on the 6th, and so around the time the movie came out, a year ago I had a fantastic, I love how you use that word, version of this, and it would have received great reviews. You'll probably never see it. That's reality, though. Okay, so that's what he said. And I'm like, okay, fine. He tweeted that out, so supposedly it's not his vision that he had. So the theatrical release of the movie, that's what we got. Okay, now let's get into my review of this movie. I want to go through a couple things that were kind of a little interesting to me. Generally, when you go to a movie, I didn't show up super early, but there was me in the theater when I went and saw it. And I didn't go see it like early in the morning. There was no one. The theater was empty. Then finally a really cute bear came back and sat behind me. That was kind of enjoyable. I enjoyed that. I was like, all right, this is kind of setting a precedent. Second thing that struck me as really odd is there was no trailers before this movie. It went directly from dark movie. Went directly into the movie, no trailers, talking about nothing before. I was like, that's really odd. I've never been in a movie that didn't have trailers about something else that was coming out. The movie itself. Let's get into that. Excuse me. I'm choking on my review. Okay, the storyline in a nutshell. It's severely different from the classic version of the Fantastic Four. If you are going to go see Fantastic Four, you need to take into the reality that this is not the Marvel Universe. Don't even think about this as the comic universe. This is like a separate universe unto itself. The Marvel Universe is made up of multiple universes. This is a universe unto itself, all by itself. It has slight ties to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and let's say that version of the characters. Some ties to them, but this is an independent universe. Let's start with that. It starts out in 2007. These are young adults that we are dealing with the Fantastic Four. They aren't adults. They haven't had a lot of experiences in life. They're very young. They're like fresh out of high school kind of stuff. Very, very young adults. The storyline takes place of Reed and Ben are friends from when they were kids, and Ben was kind of his buddy and his assistant when creating this teleporter. Now, the teleporter plays a huge element in this because it's kind of the part that ties everyone together. He develops the teleporter as like a kid prodigy, and he gets taken over to the Baxter Foundation, which is good use to the Baxter because the Baxter building is where the Fantastic Four live. I like that they used Baxter in it, which is headed up by Franklin Storm. That is the parent of Johnny and Sue Storm, the Human Torch and the Invisible Woman. Well, Johnny's kind of like a recluse, and he doesn't like to use his brain, even though he's really, really smart, and he wants to be kind of a racer driver. That's a tie to the original character, because the original character of Johnny Storm wanted to be a race car driver. And Sue is kind of, she notices patterns. And then there's Victor Von Doom. That's another thing before this movie was released, they were going to call Victor Von Doom something completely different. They actually changed that to actually fit in with the original character, Victor Von Doom. And he's from Latveria, although he has no accent whatsoever, and you don't really get this European feel from him. Okay, these are our 5 main characters. Franklin Storm is kind of a character, main character, but he's not really. All right. So they develop this teleporter, they teleport over into another world. That's where they get their powers because of an accident, kind of similar to what happened over here in the Marvel Universe. That's the storyline. Chaos ensues, and the government gets involved. The government's using them, certain ones of them, as weapons of mass destruction. And then there's Susan, who just wants to be cured, and then there's Johnny. This is his way to kind of like fulfill his need for speed, kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, that is the nutshell. Victor Von Doom, he's kind of Doctor Doom. There's one mention of him being Doctor Doom, and then the big problem with this movie is there's no consistency. The actors, there's nothing likable about them. They kind of just dial in they're kind of like cardboard. I mean, they're just there. There's really no inflections in their emotions. There's no consistency in their emotions. There's no likability to any of them. They're just there. The other problem is there's no consistency in their power base. Now, we like to have our, you can start out weak and then get stronger, but you go from like Sue. Let's look at Sue's powers. She can barely control herself to keep solid and that visible, because she's the invisible girl, she can turn invisible. She can barely control that, and she can barely levitate herself at one point, but then all of a sudden, bammo, she can levitate 3 people, including the Thing, who weighs like a couple tons. All of a sudden, she's able to do this. Then there's Victor Von Doom's character of Doctor Doom. I have no clue what his superpower was, or villain power, I guess it'd be. He's kind of telekinesis, but he explodes people's heads, and I have no clue what his superpower was. And I was like, I kind of liked my superheroes to have, like, a defined power. You kind of know what Superman's is. You kind of know what Captain America's is. You kind of know what Thor's is. What the heck is Victor Von Doom's? There was not enough time spent. It's like, okay, here he is. He gets left in this other dimension, and he spends a year there. He masters the ability. He can control rocks, I guess, which makes me wonder why he can't control the Thing. And then they bring him back, and then he wants to go back, and there's this whole huge grudge against this reality, because he thinks that there was a statement, like, previously, that he was talking about how we've screwed up the world. Suddenly, over a year, it's like he hates the world he came from. I don't really understand that, and I really didn't understand his power. Then there's Reed's power. Okay, he has enough control, he can control his stretchiness, that he can change the appearance and the ethnicity of his face and his body. He has this much control over his rubber power, but he can't control himself enough to like keep his arms like attached, that as soon as his suit is destroyed, he can't control that. There was no consistency in that, and then all of a sudden he thought about it and he was able to control it. Where was this consistency? The only consistency in the power base was kind of the Thing. He just did his thing, and he was a Thing. I was glad that they worked in the clobbering time thing. Actors overall, I think they just kind of dialed it in. There was no likability, and the big thing with the Fantastic Four is the sense of family. They are the first family of Marvel, so when you have this group, you want them to be a family. You want them to feel connected. There was no cohesiveness between any of the characters. I didn't feel it. Like, even the relationship between Reed and Ben, it didn't feel organic. It felt very forced. It didn't feel natural. Their acting, it was all of the lines were delivered the same pace, the same inflections. There was nothing wow about it. And that's disappointing. Because this movie could have been really, really good. Now, if they would have done some slight variations to it, I think it would have been salvageable. But it's basically give them 4 completely different powers, tell a story about going to another dimension and getting superpowers and creating a brand new team. So not calling them the Fantastic Four, because everyone's going to go into the expectations of this movie is this is the Fantastic Four that they've already been exposed to in 2 other movies. This is completely different. There's no ties to there's slight. I shouldn't say no. There was slight ties to the Marvel material, but it was not reflected. The other weird thing is Stan Lee was an executive producer on this, which Stan Lee's an executive producer for everything. I just think they just slap his name on it. I thought he was going to do a cameo. There was no cameo. And there was one other thing that drove me nuts through the entire movie. The Hoover character, I guess that's his name. Yeah, Hoover. He chews gum through every scene. I know it's his character thing, but he chews it with his mouth open. So it was like watching a fish. It was so obnoxious. That really drove me nuts. Maybe it's this thing that I don't like to listen to people eat. That's where that came from, but that was obnoxious. So overall, in this Barry Central review, I always try to give it a review number. I always go with 5 paws. This is like a 1. It really is. And I debated it a lot because I didn't want to trash the movie like a lot of people are. It's a 1. Just because the acting was bland, the storyline was bland. The storyline, it was basically an hour and 43 minutes, I'd say the movie was. And I felt like that whole entire thing could have been wrapped up in like 30 minutes or less. And then gotten into some really great action scenes. And the action scene was very, very boring. Special effects were cool. That's what bumped it up to like a 0.5. It's not that great of a movie. So I can see why the expectations of this over $100 million movie that it cost to make, that they're only expecting it to possibly pull in 40 to 50 million just this weekend. And like an opening night, it only brought in 2.5. And look at the opening numbers that we've had this summer. That's pretty bad. So I would strongly wait until this came out on Netflix. Not even Redbox. I spent $5 on this movie. So, and I felt cheated. I wanted my money back. I wouldn't go see it. And I'm not saying that because I want to be a hater of the Fantastic Four. I wouldn't say I was the greatest supporter of it, but it's not good. It's really not good. I'm sorry, guys. Go see Ant-Man again. Yeah. So I hope that you enjoyed this review. Sorry it was a little lengthy because this one had a lot of stories going on with it, with the backstories and the stuff going on and what led up to this, the storyline itself. So sorry it's been a little lengthy. Sorry. But until next time, bye, Cublets!
I could go out in the darkness, see you calling my name. I hear you shouting, hear you calling, but it's not the same. Every word that you are throwing right into my back doesn't matter to me, cause I'm keeping my track. Let me go. Let me go.